There's another, Bill Perkins. You know him?
No.
Okay, he wrote a book about how if you don't like, if you make all this money, we're talking about like Carnegie and all these guys, they
Yeah.
want to be as rich as possible,
Right.
right? But he says if you go your whole life and you say you make 50 mil and you leave 25 behind, you're a failure. You didn't live life to the fullest. It seems like now everything's about saving all this money. And by the time you're 70 or 60, 70, you have millions of dollars. You didn't really like enjoy that whole
Got
life.
it. So see, that's the thought pattern of a short-term thinking single man. Okay. Because if you talk about the Medici family or the Rockefeller family or some of those families that created generational wealth and power and influence, they don't think that way. They think in a very different way. So, uh, uh, 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I'm in New York with Goldman, but 8 weeks ago, I'm in St. Regis, Chicago. They're doing an event called the Family Founders Forum. Okay. And this is about, there's only 60 families invited. Minimum net worth to be invited is $1 billion. We were the poorest family in that room. Okay.
But you have a billion.
No, I'm not a billion. No. So they allowed us to come in because our growth right now is growing exponentially. So they know 12, 18 months will be there. So they gave us invitation. So I'm in the room and the owner of Chicago Bulls, Reinsdorf, is right there. Father gave him the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Cubs, son is sitting there. The Chicago Blackhawks, the Crown family, they own 10% of General Dynamics. You know, Boeing, General Dynamics. They own 10% of General Dynamics. Like the Crown family is like a $15, $20 billion family. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, $15, $20 billion, man. I bet all the kids and grandkids are rich. Now watch this. He's on stage. His name is Keating Crown. And he says, I'm the oldest G4. I'm like, what's a G4? So G1 is the person that created the money, created the wealth. Then they give the money to their kids. Their kids are G2s. Then the kids give their money to grandkids. They're G3s. You get the idea, right?
Yeah.
So in the Crown family, he's a G4. He's in his mid to late 50s. He says, I'm the oldest G4. The Crown family has 47 G4s.
Wow.
Did you see what happened right there?
Yeah.
His daughter is the oldest G5 of 150 G5s. She's 12 years old. So I'm like, holy, so okay, let's do the math. So 150 G5s, 47 G4s, that's already 200. How big is the entire family? Let's say 250. 250, $15 billion. You give 15 people, split the 15 billion on 15 is what? $1 billion. You split it amongst 150, it's 100 million. What are you going to evenly give everybody the money? No. So then that's when they create the criteria of who gets to come in, who doesn't, who is somebody that's going to manage a business, who's going to own some of the business. These are the decisions that these families are already making, right? On how to be, sometimes a G3 becomes a G1.
Yeah.
Because they take the money from their family and they start a new business and they sell that for 1.2 billion. So now they're both a G3 and a G1, right? So when you're saying the guy, the Bill Perkins, 50 million, 25 million, you're a failure if you don't spend the whole money and all that stuff, I totally get that concept. Dana White was on a podcast with Cardone, and Dana says to Grant, he says, yeah, when you talk about the guys that they buy this car, you're talking about me. He says, you're talking about me. And let me tell you something. That's the life I want to live. I want to have my fun, make the money, all this other stuff. That's one argument they got to make. But there's a reason why money doesn't make it to generation 2 and 3. And Vanderbilt at one point was the richest man in the world. Mm-hmm. Imagine you're the richest man in the world. You know how much of the money went to G2, G3? By G3 was gone.